about the history of the African transgender movement. My name is Victor Mukasa, and I am your host today as we share very, very powerful information with you. But before we dive deep into the interview that you have seen advertised over the throughout the week, I will first and foremost bring you LeighAnn. LeighAnn is the coordinator of everything you see at the TIHA website, so that she tells us just a little bit of what is happening, why the TIHA website, and what we are trying to achieve. LeighAnn, Mama Trans, welcome to the studios.
Good day, everyone. I'm not going to say morning, evening, whatever. A good day.
Yes.
To include everyone in all the different time zones that follows us. So the Trans and Intersex History in Africa website aims to bring those stories, the information, the experiences of the past, that we cannot forget about that. We really, really want to make sure that the trans community, the intersex community, everywhere in Africa and in the diaspora, is aware of their history, is aware of what happened, what make us to be where we are today. And then obviously we are also very happy when we are joined by researchers, by other activists from other regions of the world, from anyone basically who are interested to learn and know more. We have a website, and I'm sure it will come on the screen at some stage. We will definitely share it with everyone. We are available on our website that we have, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn. We have plans to also have other platforms in the future, but this is it for now. And thank you for the opportunity to just spend your time here, everyone. Listen, follow, just see what is happening. So that is from me. And yes, we will bring many more episodes of that. I'm excited for the one we're going to have today.
Right. Thank you so much, LeighAnn. For those of you who don't know her, we call her Mama Trans for us proud transgender Africans. She has nurtured us and she has supported us over the years, and she has made very, very great contributions to the development and survival of the African transgender movement. Now, without wasting time, we bring you the main purpose of this show today on for the TIHA website. And our guest today is not other than LeighAnn van der Merwe. Now, I might not, maybe I've not done good justice to this name, but LeighAnn will actually forgive me and correct us when she gets here. LeighAnn van der Merwe is a Black transgender woman of colored descent. She is the founder of Social Health and Empowerment Feminist Collective, which we call S.H.E very correctly. LeighAnn is a feminist or womanist and womanist activist with a keen interest in African feminist values and dynamics. She is also a public health specialist with training in epidemiology. She is well published in accredited academic journals and is a feminist practitioner and thought leader. Her proudest achievement is being a mama to many young African transgender women, and also us older trans men and women. She's still our mom. But LeighAnn, very importantly also, is the first Black transgender woman to be appointed as commissioner in the South African Commission for Gender Equality. This is our time. producer. LeighAnn van der Meer, did you arrive? Mama Trans, did LeighAnn van der Meer send you here on her behalf?
We will. There we go.
Let us see LeighAnn now. Yes, LeighAnn. I'm so happy
Hello.
to see you. I'm so happy to see you. Welcome to the TIHA string of episodes about the history of the transgender history in Africa. How are you? Is it good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are?
Good evening from South Africa.
Good
I'm so
evening
happy
from
to be
South
here.
Africa. I'm so sorry, I might have not done justice to your name. Could you please help me and correct it for the people that are listening? LeighAnn, do you hear us?
No problem.
All right.
I think when I present at conferences, it's always very, very difficult. I feel sorry for whoever has to do my introduction. It's pronounced Van der Merwe, but will be changing soon.
Well, whatever you're called, some of us are just proud to call you Mama to many. And that is the easiest thing for us to say at this point from our hearts. So, LeighAnn, your journey as a transgender activist in Africa is both inspiring and significant. Could you take us back to the pivotal moments and experiences in your life that ignited the passion for advocating for transgender rights? And how did these shape your trajectory within this movement? Seriously speaking, is from even when you were young, something might have been a sign that you were going to be Mama to many.
Yeah. So thank you first and foremost for the opportunity to be here, for hosting me. I as introduced, I'm LeighAnn van der Merwe. I am from a very humble small town in the northeastern Cape of South Africa. It's a town called Ugie. I grew up in the 80s in the heart of the struggle for racial equality in South Africa. And I think those moments really inspired my love of activism. I don't know if, you know, by virtue of who we are, being a person of color, being a gender diverse person, our lives are defined by struggle.
It's
And
struggle
that kind of
after struggle.
So many of them,
Right.
and they're all intersectional.
Yes.
And so even in those moments, I found myself to be incredibly inspired and, and wanting to reform and wanting to work in a paradigm of justice. In terms of trans activism, my activism really started towards the end of high school, because I then moved from my rural town to move to Cape Town. And while I was at it, I thought, I'm moving to Cape Town. I have to get access to services. I want to
We're experiencing some network problems, and also StreamYard is experiencing some issues, but LeighAnn is still here with us today. Go ahead, LeighAnn.
Yes, I am. And so it was in 1999 that I first met, first met another trans person, like in person, because I've only ever read about, and I mean, I grew up in a time when there was no Google, and so I met this person at the Triangle Project in Cape Town.
Yes, big
and
up
my
Project.
my activism really stretched back, way back there. And then there was a moment when I just considered, like, I just want to transition, maybe get married,
Mhm.
start a life. And life is not like that for activists.
Right.
I then, with the lack of services, especially surgical transition service,
Yeah.
I ended up looking for services at Steve Biko Academic Hospital in Pretoria. And I met other trans women there. And one of the trans women there told me, and this was in 2005, and one of them told me about Liesel Theron and
Oh,
introduced me by SMS. So this is way back before WhatsApp or any other.
I
We had
remember
calls.
the language of SMS.
we had SMS and we had calls. And there was nothing beside those, and that's how I met Liesel, and I've been in the movement ever since.
That is where your activism starts.
Yes.
And that is where the mama to many is born. But it's very interesting to hear that you met your first another trans person ever. The first one you met was in 1999. That means that your journey until 1999 must have been a lonely one in terms of our identities. And I think that many of us have actually suffered that loneliness at one point before we met with our family, the people who would easily understand our identities. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And then when we go to the next question, it's really about, in line with the TIHA website. And the question is, what are some of the key milestones or significant moments in the history of the transgender rights movement in Africa that you have witnessed or been a part of? Because I know you've done tremendous work. I've seen you different places doing promoting human rights of transgender people. But according to what TIHA is sharing on the website, you have actually contributed a lot to the movement, LeighAnn. And would you please mind sharing with us some of those milestones or moments that you have participated in? Because I know there has been a lot and a lot of important work. LeighAnn? There you are. Did you hear the question, LeighAnn?
No, I didn't.
I'll, re-
Please
I'll
repeat.
repeat it for you. It's basically about work in line with the TIHA website that is actually documenting the history of our movement, our journey as a trans movement in Africa. And the question is about you sharing about, the important milestones or moments, those moments that you have been a part of or that you have just witnessed in Africa. Are you able to share with us some of those moments?
I think what really informs my work to this day was we had the exchange program in Africa. So it was a trans and intersex exchange program between a few African countries. And I was in the leg going to Uganda, and we were at WANETHA. WANETHA is a feminist organization based in Kampala, Uganda. And while we were there, my colleague and sister Beyonce Amuti told me about a trans woman who had passed on, and that the morgue would not accept her body because of her transgender status.
We didn't get you
I
very
was
clearly.
deeply.
While you were there, LeighAnn, you said you had Beyonce shared with you a story about a trans woman in the morgue, a body of a trans woman in the morgue. I think that we missed that piece of what LeighAnn was talking about, and I think that that was very important for us to get. Um, LeighAnn, do you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you for a moment. You were talking about a body of a trans woman in the morgue.
Yes. And that body was, they wanted to remove the body. And so, because of being a trans person. And that really moved me. It moved me because it has given me the lens to say that as trans women, we face very particular issues.
Right.
And that, it's time that we needed to stand up and take leadership of those issues.
Right.
Though it was a sad story, but it was a milestone for me because it really gave me this idea that we need a collective such as S.H.E to work
Yes.
on the particular issue facing trans women. Another really important milestone for me was the first ever Trans Health Conference,
Yes.
of which I was part of the planning from the get-go.
Yes.
That was a space for us to be able to speak to policyholders, to look at research, to look at identifying priorities for our community. That
Right.
was another important milestone for me. Another such milestone was the first ever, the launch of the African Transfeminist Charter in Johannesburg. And that was in 2014, where a group of trans women from East and Southern Africa came together to identify what are the priorities for us, what will be the kind of engagement that we want to undertake with the feminist and the women's movement. There are many milestones, but I'll mention
Right.
those. I think
And I
those
think
were
that those are
critical.
very, very important milestones because, as you said, the exchange program that was organized by Gender Dynamics and CPID really bore a lot for the trans movement in Africa. It built capacities,
Yeah.
it made people dream bigger than they had. And we see that a lot of inspiration came from there for you, even to start your own S.H.E program in Southern Africa, which has also borne a lot of great things for Africa and African trans women as a whole. And you
Yeah.
also mentioned about the Transfeminist Charter. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Could you please tell us more about the African Transfeminist Charter? Because, LeighAnn, some of us trans people in Africa, when we hear the word feminist, we freak out because many times we felt unwelcome in feminist spaces. We faced a lot of hostility in feminist spaces. And so now when I hear that you are playing a major role in a feminist space, I begin to ask myself questions and Trans African Feminist Charter. What has your role been in building that movement? And what can the other trans people and those who are allies to the trans movement get or be involved in when it comes to this work that you're doing? Are we
Thank
safe?
you. So the African Transfeminist Charter
Yes,
is a
LeighAnn.
piece of
Operator,
work.
we don't hear LeighAnn, but we can see that she's speaking.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
We do
now?
not hear LeighAnn. We do not LeighAnn, but hear LeighAnn, but she's speaking.
Really, and
Mama Trans Lizoteron, are you coming in? And will you fill in for LeighAnn as her network gets, her audio work gets to work?
let's take me off at this moment because I was.
Am I audible now?
We just lost Mama Trans Lizoteron, and we can see LeighAnn speaking, but we do not hear a thing. Or do others hear LeighAnn? Are other people able to hear LeighAnn? Can somebody put in the comments section of Facebook if you hear LeighAnn? All right.
Okay, okay, great.
Okay, now we hear you. We
So,
hear you now.
so, so then the African Transfeminist Charter is a set of principles in terms of which we want to engage with the broader feminist movement. As you so rightly say, Victor, that the that the feminist movement at large has been so phobic towards trans
Very
people,
hostile. Right.
and even our own fears as trans people, have been exacerbated
Right.
because of the violence that we have faced. And so, in response to this, we have drafted a set of principles that we want to undertake in our engagement with the broader women's and feminist movement. We feel that this is an important piece of work in terms of centering trans women's contribution to the feminist movement, in particular to the African trans feminist movement.
Right.
I think we face a different kind of exclusion in the feminist
Mhm.
movement. If you compare us to our Western counterparts, which
Mhm.
which have been an intellectual fight and an intellectual debate and exclusion of trans women, because you'll find that a lot of the trans exclusionary radical feminists are
Mm.
white, cisgender, academic feminists.
Right.
Um, we started to see some of that spill onto the African continent through the recent utterings of Chimamanda.
Mhm.
There's been a South African feminist. I'm not going to call her feminist. I don't think she's a feminist. I don't want to name her because, I don't want her in my space. And I
Right.
just don't want to give her that airtime. But I
Right.
mean, those of you who watch will know who I'm talking about. Like towards the beginning of 2023, she tried to be relevant in posting very transphobic stuff.
Oh.
Um, Trans women shouldn't call themselves women. We should find
Oh my
another
God.
label. Blah 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 blah. But that's obviously about getting ratings or seeking a cheap thrill or fame or whatever. And we were
Relevance.
just not going to entertain it. But
Right.
our work has been about trying to influence the feminist movement, trying to
Right.
work on an amicable and peaceful basis with
Right.
African feminists to ensure that trans women's issues are also placed within the broader discourse on women's rights in Africa.
Right. And that has been really a big challenge. Like I said earlier, those spaces have been very hostile for us. So just understanding where
Yeah.
you come from and where the African Trans Feminist Charter comes from, and how transgender people are actually trying to, claim that space for trans women, especially. I think that this was a very needed shot to have you take us. Through the journey of where we are at now. So with the charter and the work that you're doing, is the African trans feminist movement? Is it a charter that and a movement that has embraced the transgender men and all those who identify towards that identity?
Well, so far we've really worked with trans women
Right.
given the historical inequalities or the
Mhm.
exclusion of trans women from many, many spaces.
Right, including
Um,
trans spaces.
yeah, yeah. Most importantly, trans spaces.
Yeah.
You know, unlike the
Mm,
movements in Latin America and Asia,
mm,
where trans women are in the forefront leading the movement. For
right,
Africa, it's been the reverse, where for many for the longest time trans men have been in spaces, led spaces, have traveled to places like the United Nations, been given opportunities to speak, And trans women haven't, been in those kind of spaces. And that has really been the focus of the work of S.H.E, not necessarily traveling to the United States, to the United Nations, because, what does the United Nations mean to a trans woman who's violated in rural KZN? But
Right.
it's really about our focus has been around the micro environments, about working with the movements where you are, making change where you are in the spaces at grassroots level. And I don't even want to use the word empowerment because it's so loaded and so problematic. But really just trying to influence, dynamics at a grassroots stage
At that
and
level.
centering, ensuring that the issues of trans women are located within the women's discourse. And when we talk about advocacy for change, that trans women's voices are heard in those spaces loud and clear and in a very intersectional way, because our charter is foregrounding intersectionality in that
Right.
we are very much about grassroots movements, including women living with HIV,
Right.
rural women, women of color,
Right.
in those rural movements. Yeah.
And looking at the work that you've done, over the last few years, has there been, some progress in terms of reception of, say, trans women within the African women's spaces?
You ask a very interesting question, and I've been talking about it the other day on our group.
Right.
Um, Women have started demonstrating and showing to us like small pieces of work, but very significant work, to say that my group has participated at a pride event and we've done this, or my group has been invited to a sex worker dialogue and we've been. It's not leaps and bounds,
Right.
and we don't expect it to be leaps and bounds, but
Right.
for us, just seeing the small
Mm,
results of what we have been
exactly.
cultivating since
Exactly.
2010. That for me is heartwarming, and also the kind of, for me, I think the biggest joy that I take out of this work
Mm,
is developing the leadership of trans women, because when I started S.H.E in 2010, there were two trans women who were executive directors on the African continent.
mhm.
Um, as of
Only
today,
two.
there's more than 10. It was myself and Audrey Mbogo
Oh, from Kenya.
from
Wow.
Kenya.
And right now, there's so many. I've seen Beyonce rising up and so many other trans women across the continent.
So many, so many. And that for me is one of the things that one of the joys that I take out of my work
Right.
is not, and it's not necessarily about the establishment of organizations. Anybody can
Yes.
start an organization, but
Yes.
it's about the awareness that women bring to say that
Right. And I
we've
guess
gained the advantage and now we are at the forefront. We are leading. We have constituencies and we are speaking on behalf of our constituents. And I think that's a proud moment for any organizer.
it is a proud moment, and not only for trans women are pushing us up there. They just don't push themselves up there as trans women. It's all of us transgender Africans. We feel represented when we see trans women pushing forward. It is creating spaces for us. You know what, LeighAnn?
That's true.
If I was invited to a space where she is, and and it is a feminist space, I will go there knowing that I am safe. you know I've loved the principles of feminism, but I have run away from those spaces because I have not felt safe there. And I believe that she and people like you are doing a lot of work to make those spaces, to claim our space at the table, so that we are not on the menu. we want to be we want to be at the table. And I think that is what you are doing exactly, but not right now, is what you have done over the years. and as in way of contribution to the African transgender movement. LeighAnn, we are very, very proud of you. I'm dying to ask a question about because we have grown up in an Africa where we do not have what do you call role models, like, you know, people ask you, have you heard of any trans women who have that? And you have no role model completely. The one you have as a role model is one who has who you only talk about prison. They've been in prison for so many months. They were killed. They were done this. But today we have the first ever transgender woman on the South African Commission for Gender and what? Gender Equality. Is that what it's called? I want to be very, very specific. That commission that you're in South Africa, it is serving the country, the nation of South Africa. And South Africa is a leader in Africa in so many ways. For us, that is, you don't know, as you do your job, many of us now that we know are proud to know that there is a transgender woman in that commission. How is it for you there? And what do you think of, what is your take on the fact that we have not had role models to look at and how that has affected us as transgender people in Africa? You know, it's a question with so many dimensions. One of them is me just being proud that you are there. So that is not even a question. But your take on the fact that we have grown up without role models, and here we are getting people who matter on the continent that are transgender. Yeah.
So it's a very open and participatory process when we are selected as commissioners, because you either apply or you are nominated to become a commissioner. And so I had a couple of nominations, and they will create the short list, and the short list of that cohort will then be interviewed, and the portfolio committee on women, youth, and people with disabilities is responsible for conducting the interviews, and then it will go to the National Assembly for debate, and then the President of the Republic will then announce the commissioners. And so I got these calls. I knew that I was nominated, and I got a call on a Sunday to say that I have made it onto the short list, and they are doing travel arrangements for me to come to Cape Town. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. Surely they've seen that I'm a transgender woman, and
Yes.
you know, what does this mean for the country?
Right.
And I got the call, and I received the ticket, and I traveled. But before I traveled, I read up, and I visited my local office of the commission. Of course, I'd worked with the commission before. My journey at the commission started as a complainant, because we went to the
I love you, LeighAnn.
to go and champion for trans health in the province.
Wow.
And we got that access through the Commission for Gender Equality. They had a very passionate lawyer at the time, was working there, Carrie Oosthuizen, and she worked with us and she consulted with us. So we worked with each other. There was an active relationship.
Right.
And so I went there and I met with the local manager, and he gave me some advice, what to read, what can I go through in preparation for my interview. I did that. I went to the interview, and we sat there all day, and the interviews were long. They were long, and I think they were running like 3 hours late. And I sat there, and I was just nervous, and I went in there, and I gave it my best.
Right.
Gave it my absolute best. And when the interview was done, I thought maybe I didn't respond with too many concrete responses. Maybe I was too philosophical. Maybe this, maybe that. Need dissect. And I told myself, whichever way this goes, it's okay. I'm an activist. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I whether I become a commissioner or not, I am still who I am.
Yes.
The work that I do still matters, and so I put that out of my mind.
Right.
Following the interviews, the report was done. They debated it in the National Assembly, and a number of commissioners had been put forth. And I was not aware that I'm a commissioner until one Saturday night. Who was I didn't follow the process. To be honest, I thought, is South Africa really that progressive to to appoint a commissioner who identify as transgender? That's
Right.
what I thought. I thought if this comes true, like if this happens, then I
Mhm.
must say South Africa is progressive.
Right.
I didn't make too much of it. I was at my house. I think I was cleaning or cooking or something. And
Mhm.
I checked on my phone because I left my phone somewhere on charge.
Mhm.
And there's a heap of messages on my phone and people saying, congratulations, Commissioner. I'm like, what are people on about? I didn't follow the process. I didn't follow. Not that I was not interested, but I really didn't think that they
Right.
would, make me a commissioner, a trans
Yeah.
woman
Yeah.
from a rural area. And
Yes.
so And then people started sending me the media release. You don't get called to say you're a commissioner. Congratulations. It's
Right.
all it's a very public process. It's
Wow.
all it's out there. And
Wow.
people got this press release and they let me know and they say, "Oh, congratulations, commissioner." I could not believe it. There
Wow.
are times I pinch myself. Well, anyway, the work of the commission is deeply political.
Yes.
Uh, I when I go there, I push the agenda of women in all our diversity.
Yes.
I have worked in very intersectional movements.
Right.
I have worked on the issues of transgender women. I've worked on the issues of women living with HIV. I've
Yes.
worked on issues of sex workers.
Right.
I've worked on rural women,
Mm. Mm.
but one of the things that I'm currently working on is around the attainment of sexual and reproductive health rights within the commissioner because that's my expertise is that
Mm.
I'm trained in health and so that is my contribution to be made.
Right.
But some days it's still very surreal to me that
Mm.
at first, like when I started going to those meetings, people say, Commissioner, then I would look around.
You think it's not you while it's you, our
Yes,
commissioner.
like, who are they talking about? Yeah, to this day.
Oh my God, I'm so proud of you, Leanne. And I
Thank
believe
you.
that a lot of African trans people in general who are just learning about this are very proud of you. And I'm thinking about the young trans women in across Africa, young trans women, young trans men, and others across Africa who didn't know about this kind of development. To you, Leanne, you're a very humble person that this is not so huge to you as huge as it is to us who now claim you, because I claim you now. I want to talk about you. I want to show young trans people that we can get somewhere. This Leanne, you see, the commissioner, came from a rural area as a young trans woman, trans girl. Today, this is where she is. And I think that you are one of those people that Africans should be watching. For us, we should be watching as you get up there, as you speak on our behalf, as you represent us, not just us, but women of all caliber. I think that you are the right person to be on that commission, and you are the right person for us to look up and uphold and support whenever you need the support, because you are always supporting us as a people, as a movement, and as diverse people in Africa. And we thank you so much, LeighAnn, and very proud of you. I just want operator and our beautiful Medusa. I wonder if you can bring us Lizzo, because I want us to end this show with Lizzo Teron here. If she had some extra questions to LeighAnn, but also if she has some last remarks before LeighAnn actually says bye to all those that are listening to us. Lizzo, I'm so very grateful for the opportunity for me to engage with LeighAnn at this time in my life. I have met LeighAnn more than a decade ago, but just meeting LeighAnn today is so renewing.
I think thank you for bringing me back, Victor.
Of
I
course.
think one thing that LeighAnn and I share in a weird way is both of us are called Mama. Mama
Yes.
Trans or Mama of Many, and with different stories of how it happened
Now
and
let me
different
tell you the difference before you even tell us. Mama
different.
Trans, your mama everything trans Africa. Now mama to many is described as mama of trans women, but for us we claim her also as mama. She likes it or not.
So, because much earlier in the talk, when LeighAnn spoke of the proud feeling, or of how we look at other trans women, or for me, in more broader, all the trans people in different countries in Africa, how it comes up. I remember those years, even before, like how myself as a director of a trans organization, and that organization being Gender Dynamics, was the only one on the continent. I mean,
Yeah.
there were trans people existing throughout the ages. There
Yeah.
were trans people, or trans people meeting up each other in groups. But I mean, when I speak of this, I mean it in a formalized, how
Mm,
we see NGO, NGOiation, like registered, recognized by the government through having a registration number. In that
right.
sense, I'm
Yeah.
referring to that. So
Yeah.
the first other trans organization, for example, in South Africa that then came up after us, in my first beginning, I was like, oh my word, what does that mean? There's many, and it means we couldn't serve everyone. I almost thought it was a critique, but then very soon I realized, no, there's a value in it. The more we have presence and existence, and then later on, obviously beyond South Africa, but in other in other countries, more organizations, it really actually starts showing that the work that we believe in, the work that
Yeah.
we are doing, is reaching
Yeah.
the start reaching the goals that we had, that we hoped for, because it means that really more people can have the support, the knowledge,
Yeah.
whatever it takes to come forward and actually really, really take
Yeah.
up a stand very publicly, because it sometimes do put you on a spot if you're in a public
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah, LeighAnn, so
TIHA
I'm
bring this
happy
up.
that you are the mother of many, that you
Yeah.
bring trans women from all over the continent actually to the office. That is
Yeah.
for
And
me
TIHA,
so great.
TIHA bringing mother to many, mom to many, LeighAnn is also a very, it shows how important the work of TIHA is, because even as a long-standing trans activist, just LeighAnn telling that history of some of those processes, it renews me, it strengthens me more, it gives me more energy to move forward in contributing to our struggles. So thank you so much, Lizzo, for coming back for that, and thank you for leading on this Trans and Intersex History Africa website. It is very important. Now back to LeighAnn, and as we close, I'll ask the operator, our beautiful Medusa,
But
to bring up some of the videos and pictures or any visuals that she has found of LeighAnn, because it is Transgender Day of Visibility, is what we are celebrating this week, ending tomorrow. I think it will be good for us to see that visibility through the story of LeighAnn. We have already seen it. Now we would like to see some of it in the visuals as we close before LeighAnn's last remarks. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Medusa, for this amazing work. Medusa is the one who came up with that collection of visuals. And as I was watching it, I knew that I had a reason to celebrate. To celebrate. We are visible and we are not afraid. So, as we close, we will have a last word from LeighAnn, a word especially to the young trans women in Africa. What word do you leave them with, dear LeighAnn?
My work is
And if
in
we
as
can
much
have LeighAnn in the big screen, that would be great.
my work, as much as it has focused on trans women, I'm also a mother to trans men because the reality is that so many of us are reliant on alternative kinship structures.
Right.
So many of us have relied on the kindness of strangers, of other trans people, people who understand our struggles and our journeys. And sometimes the expectation, of us as activists is to do all these remarkable things. And sometimes the expectation is just really to check in with me. That WhatsApp message. We are past SMS now. Nobody sends SMS anymore. We did that in 2006 when we started the movement. We no longer do that. Just a message to check in with folks,
Right.
how folks are doing. How best can I, if I'm given an opportunity to travel or to speak or to go into those meetings
Mm,
with developers of HIV prevention drugs, how
mm,
best can I represent your voice as
right.
a trans person? And when I say trans people, it's like just trans people in all of our diversity. Um, the final message that I have is that on the International Transgender Day of Visibility, our
Yeah.
sole responsibility is to stand up and speak our truth.
Mhm.
That's all. Um, we don't have to be flamboyant. We don't have to, be seen. There's the social media culture and whatnot, and
Right.
people are doing their thing in whichever way they can, and I'm not critical of that. But you have the responsibility to be you at all times. You have the responsibility of stating and living your truth. And, beyond that, I think at its very primacy, that is our core responsibility, and that informs everything else that we are going to be doing in our lives as activists. Um, yeah, I want to thank you all for putting this together and for giving me the opportunity to speak here. In some small way, I hope that it has been touching for a trans or gender diverse person out there. Please know that I'm thinking of you, that I love you, and that you are worthy.
LeighAnn, I personally, I am a very privileged guy to host you today, to be with you on this, because it just became very significant even as the talk went on. The more you speak, the more I just want to sit right there and listen to you, LeighAnn. And I hope we can have you other times to share with us and to encourage young trans people out there who might think the world came to an end, to show them that we have a future and that we are who we are. So I thank you so much, LeighAnn. Thanks for making the time out of your busy schedule. And out there, those who are listening, let us celebrate our people. Let us celebrate and encourage those who have come before us, or those who stand in very hostile places to just create spaces for us. Let us hold hands at any one point and continue moving together as solid as we can be. I thank you also, Mama Trans, Lizzo Theron, for the work you do, for enabling us to have this kind of conversation out here. I thank Medusa. Usually operators are very invisible, but I thank Medusa, and I want people to know who Medusa is for the work that she does behind stage. It wouldn't have been possible to happen this way if it wasn't for her. And also a shout out to everybody out there on this Transgender Day of Visibility. Celebrate it by celebrating that joy that we have, celebrating this kind of moments, celebrating our resilience, celebrating who we are. There is a very interesting and very powerful video that Medusa played for us at the beginning of the show called This Is Me. We encourage you all to watch it. Medusa might tell us through script who sings it, where it comes from, who produces it. We would like to support people who do that kind of work. And we thank you for the work that you do in visuals like that. From me and from the Trans and Intersex History in Africa, and also from our own Mama to Many, LeighAnn Mama, and and Medusa, we say have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Easter for those who celebrate it, a wonderful Sunday for everybody, and a wonderful International Transgender Day of Visibility tomorrow. Thank you very much. Au revoir.
Thank you.
Bye to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Medusa still wants us here, but we say take us.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me.